All right. All right. So, welcome everyone to the weekly Wednesday coaching call. My name is Omar Pinto, and we're going to kick it off with Ted today. So, Ted, please repeat your question.
I guess my concern is that I'm 78 days of non-drinking today.
Mhm.
Haven't had too many urges. Well, I haven't had any urges actually. And my wife and I just attended a SMART meeting for friends and family the other day and turned out very well. So she's definitely on my side. But I'm concerned that sometime after 78 days, there's got to be a point where I will be challenged in my sobriety, but it hasn't happened yet. I'm putting together a sobriety program for myself to try to get myself ready for anything that might happen, but it's kind of hard to read the future. And I just, for lack of a better term, I don't want to be caught with my pants down.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
yeah, I want this to work this time. I'm doing a lot of things that I haven't done before, and so far it's working very well. But I'm still concerned.
So, how are you feeling emotionally?
Um, I'm feeling pretty good. I'm feeling pretty good emotionally. I know that my body is starting to feel its age.
Mm.
So that's a little bit concerning. There's some things that I can't do these days, like go upstairs without any issues. you know, uh, and so I'm a little bit concerned on that. I'm wondering what's going to happen with that. But I think overall, emotionally, I'm not doing too bad. I'm hanging on to my part-time job, which keeps me busy, even though I don't like it.
I
you know,
understand.
and I think that things are okay, unless there's something lurking in the background that I'm not aware of.
Well, there's always something lurking in the background. Okay, that's for everybody, right? I mean, that's just how life is. You never know, what's coming up until something comes up, right? So there's always kind of something in the background, but ultimately the idea is not to let that control you, right? Or let it become like a dominant thought. Because a lot of times, if I have a dominant thought, if I have a dominant feeling and it's negative, I will bring it into my reality. So the idea is to stay positive. So for example, in these 78 days, when was the last time you had 78 days alcohol free?
It's been a while. Hard to
Hmm.
put my finger on, but it's been a while. I mean, I have approximately 5 different sobriety dates. Some sobriety dates have kept me sober or kept me non-drinking for 5 to 7 years. But that hasn't been recently. Recently, I can't think of when I went 78 days without um, screwing things up.
Got it. Got it. Okay. So, what are the things that you're doing differently this time?
Well, whenever I have a chance, I'm talking about my situation. I'm also putting together a program of things that I need to do, things that I need to be cognizant of. And I'm a member of SMART, Sobriety Engine, Betty Ford. I try to go on SRC whenever I can. The Alano Club seems to be fading into the background a little bit, but I am a member of Life Ring and Sober Nation. So these are things I've never done before. Like um, I've gone to AA meetings once every day for like about 5 years. But last week I went to eight. Let me just double check that. Yeah, eight, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different meetings. From Smart to Sobriety Engine to Life Ring, and all of that is something different. I'm trying to be very cognizant of what it is that I'm doing. I'm avoiding places where I used to buy things. Um, I'm being much more vocal and much more involved than I was before.
Okay. All right. So, right there alone, if you were to remember, times where you were, alcohol free before, and if you were to pay attention to the people around you, the people that were in your circle, the people that were going to meetings with you, the people that were also alcohol free, do you remember the ones that were putting this kind of work into their recovery?
No, because most of the people that I was doing that with were, and I don't mean to slight anybody, but they were AA people, and they didn't have necessarily any tools or things to do about situations that they had. Like if I have a situation, you'll ask me about it,
Yes.
and I'll tell you about it. During the SMART meetings, if you have an issue, they give you a tool that you can work with. With the AA, it was always, well, you need to put more faith into your higher power. And I was once told that if my higher power was something that I could understand is not strong enough to help me. So
Mm.
that means that if I'm having problems, which I think I was a dry drunk for 5 years,
Mm.
7 years, only because if I had a problem, I was supposed to put it in the hands of something that I didn't understand.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
that's not working for me now. It's not working for me at all. As a matter of fact, I mentioned that my AA meetings are kind of going in the background because I see that so many times. People say, "Oh boy, I'm having some problems today," and it's like, well, you need to do a better program. You need to ask God for help. And I'm just not there anymore.
Okay. So right there, I want to point out that you have recognized something in your own journey and in your own recovery program that is no longer serving you or working for you. And
Correct.
so you are actively seeking other avenues that are more robust and that are more interactive, where you can actually get feedback, right? Where you can be vocal and also receive feedback. Correct?
Absolutely. And I think you are the one who started that with me. And I remember I remember my first meeting that I came here. You said, "Well, does anybody have anything they want to talk about?" And of course, the room was silent. And I thought, well, well, yeah, sure, of course I do. But I had no idea that I was going to be the subject for the next hour. So, and you pulled a lot of things out of me. You were I don't mean to call you a tool, but you were a great tool. You were a great tool for me to find out at least what some of my triggers were. If you were to ask me before what my triggers were, I couldn't tell you. After I got done talking to you, I was able to put my finger on a couple of triggers. And I keep trying to find more because I just know it that something's gonna jump on me like a gorilla, and I just want to be ready for it.
Okay. So can you give me on this in the personal recovery program that you're building? What are some of the tools and resources that you have put together in there?
Well, I got this handbook from Smart, and it has a number of different tools in it that I can use on various occasions that could help me. Um, in my um, personal recovery program, I've put down that I realize that I'm accountable for my addiction recovery just the same as I'm accountable for anything else in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll make as many offerings, take care of as many offerings that Sobriety Engine offers me that I can. I'll keep in contact with you and with Tree Life. And I'm trying to avoid the stores where purchases were made on a regular basis.
Mm-hmm.
And one of my objectives is to talk to as many people going through recovery as possible, but
Mm-hmm.
always keeping it in the now. Another thing that I'm having problems with, I think I'm really having problems with, is when somebody does an open talk and it's all a drunkalogue.
Mm-hmm.
I can give a drunkalogue too, but I don't care to hear it. Who cares to really hear it? I mean, the only people who actually get something from a drunkalogue like that is someone who's maybe a week or two sober. They can think, oh boy, well, I guess I'm not the only one. But
Mm-hmm.
after 30 years of doing that stuff, it just doesn't do anything for me. I would rather hear someone talk about what they're doing now um, uh, to keep their situation in check. As a matter of fact, I'm writing right now an open talk that does just that. I don't want to dwell in the past. I don't want to try to predict the future by, I'm going to drink again. I'm trying to do what it is that I'm doing right now. And I think that would help a lot of people more. It would help myself a lot more than looking back at all the nasty stuff that I've done.
Okay. So have you ever heard of Recovery Capital?
Can't say I have.
Okay. So Recovery Capital is like a bank account, like a savings account. Okay. So the more money I have in my savings account, the more capital I have in case I need it for a rainy day, for example. Okay. So Recovery Capital is the same way. How many things do I have in my recovery bank account that I have, right, for a rainy day? And so right now, what you're listing to me is I immediately am remembering when I was getting certified in Minnesota as a recovery coach. One of the things that they brought up was discussing this idea of recovery capital or having recovery capital. So if you can write that down, just write down recovery capital and Google it. So recovery capital, you could even type in Minnesota MRC. So you could even write Recovery Capital MRC, which stands for Minnesota Recovery Connection.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And in there, I'll look for it too. Right. But ultimately, if you Google that, it has a spreadsheet or a worksheet that goes down the line and asks you questions. How many meetings do you go to? Who are the people that you associate with? Do you avoid people, places, and things? Are you paying attention to triggers, emotional triggers, right? And so you go down the line and you can just run through this checklist, right? And then at the end, it'll give you a score. It's like, wow, my recovery capital is up there, right? Or you'll go, wow, you know what? I haven't been keeping up with, a lot of the things that I have in my own personal recovery program. And so now I recognize that my recovery capital has gone down. So that's a great way of sort of like doing a daily or even a weekly check-in with yourself to see, hey, where's my recovery capital these days? But ultimately, if there was anything looming in the background, okay, just if you were to guess, what could possibly be the worst thing that could come up that would promote you or provoke you to drink again?
That's kind of difficult to say because again, I'm trying to predict the future. But right now, I'm having an issue with. I should be retired, okay, but I'm working for the Stearns Collection of Musical Instruments at the U of M on a not temporary, but a part-time basis. I don't like what's happening with the situation, but in talking to my wife, we both like the money that I make. I'm not, I'm not making a bunch, but I'm making something. It's bringing in something a month. But I don't like where it's headed. And I think if it really goes off course, that might get to me emotionally. And if something gets to me emotionally, I'm toast.
Okay, very good. Okay. That could get to me emotionally. So here's what your ability to articulate where you are at, Ted, makes all the difference, right? So being vocal, being vulnerable, just showing up here week to week allows you to really maintain a strong emotional foundation. Listening to me coach other people, being coached yourself, being coachable, right? It makes a significant difference in your sense of confidence going out into the world, right? If I'm butt naked, right, with no tools and no weapons, walking into a war zone, right, I have a lot to be afraid of. a lot to be afraid of. But if I've got my armor and I've got my tools and I've got my shield and I've got my sword, there's a lot of confidence as I go into the war zone. And really the world is kind of the war zone out there when you're alcohol free, early in sobriety, anything could trigger us. However, you have a lot of tools and a lot of resources, not only at your disposal, but that you're taking advantage of. You're actually using the resources at your disposal.
Mm.
And right now, it's having a dramatic impact on your emotional state. You're feeling comfortable. You're not feeling triggered. You know what your triggers are, and they're not being triggered. Right. So for right now, just asking that question fortifies your recovery and fortifies your ability to, if you are triggered, if you are emotionally triggered, you know exactly what to do. You know exactly where to go, and you know exactly who to ask for help. Correct?
Yeah, well, exactly is kind of the definitive word here. I don't know if it's exactly, but I have a fair idea. I was just thinking one thing that kind of bothers me is I used to be where everybody else's opinion of me really mattered.
Mm-hmm.
So if anybody else's opinion was that they didn't like what I was doing, I felt kind of down. If people's opinion were, hey, he's doing a good job, I'm pretty up. So I was up and down and up and down, and I was not in control of my own life, and I don't want to be there anymore. I don't want to be there anymore. But even as we're talking right now, I take a look at, I think it's Texas, maybe TX Sheila. She
Uh-huh.
nods every once in a while, and I think, hey, I must be I must be saying something okay because she's nodding. But what difference should that really make, to me? I mean, it means a lot that someone is nodding yes. Uh, I don't give advice to anybody, but if somebody can take something from what I'm saying and make it work for them, I feel very good. I almost feel like it's calling. I think, Omar, you know something about that.
Yes, sir.
And I don't know if Sheila were to be there and just not at all, I'd start wondering,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and I really don't want to be there. Uh,
Okay. Let's
you
work.
know, so,
Let's try and kill that one right now. Okay. Let's work on that one right now, because I like that one because I have it's actually one of my favorite topics because I have a nice reframe for this. So ultimately, when the opinion of others matters to me, okay, if what I am doing or what I am saying, okay, I am judging on the basis of how others respond, correct? Is that correct, Ted?
yeah.
Then what I am focusing on is an outcome. I'm not focusing on the message. I'm not focusing on my growth. I'm focusing on an outcome. Right. So this is where my focus is. We need to shift the focus. Right now, my focus is if I say something and Sheila nods, then I'm on the right page or I'm on the right track. Okay. If Sheila doesn't nod or is deer in the headlights, that must mean I'm saying something wrong. Okay. So what I'm looking for is an outcome. Okay. And that outcome is tied to your self-worth and sense of validation. Does that make any sense so far?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Sure.
So here's the thing. I could be growing and learning and expanding and contributing and helping, becoming a better human being. But if I'm doing it subconsciously to get my self-worth and validation from others, then what does that mean?
Well, what does that mean? I think I think if I'm looking for validation outside of myself, again, I'm out of control. I need the validation to come from inside of me. And I think that that's what you see, now that makes me feel good. uh,
Well, if you're on the right track, Ted, I'm going to nod my head for you.
oh no, I've totally lost, I've lost my train of thought here. Oh yeah, I'm responsible for my own program. I realize that. I was once told that I'm doing this all for me. Well, I don't agree with that, because I've been married for 44 years. I'm doing it for my wife. She's seen me fall down the stairs a couple of times, and she's still with me and she still cares. So she's a part of the whole thing. But my own personal recovery program, who I take my validation from, is all up to me. And I would rather that it comes from me rather than from outside.
All right. And so the way that we start to remove ourselves from that need for external validation is to recognize, basically, it's just awareness. It's just awareness that that's what I'm doing. Oh, interesting. All this work that I'm doing, staying sober and going to meetings and, going to counseling and showing up for coaching and learning and growing and expanding and becoming a better human being. Part of that, a big part of that, is based on getting approval and validation for others. So basically what that means is it's never going to be enough. As long as I am seeking external validation and approval, and that's where I'm deriving my self-worth, then it's based on an outcome instead of based on the work, the process. If I focus all my attention on the process, for example, I have 78 days sober. Okay. I am working an active recovery program. Okay. I am actively seeking help. I am opening up and being vulnerable and sharing where I am at, asking for support, asking for help. Okay. So there's all these things that I am doing, which is the recovery capital, right? That in and of itself, as I start to look at all the things that I am doing to make me a better human being, that's where it stops right there. But what most of us have learned how to do, because we're humans and because our parents were flawed, is we learn how to, we did not learn unconditional love, we learned conditional love. If I eat all my cereal, my dad will be happy with me. If I don't throw a tantrum, my dad will approve of me. If I clean my room, my mom will be happy with me. So we learn from a very early age to focus on the outcome. If I clean my room and no one pays attention, guess what I'm going to stop doing?
Let me guess.
Please.
Stop cleaning your room. Yeah.
Right. When we're children, we're very basic. So there is this tit for tat. Okay. If I don't get reinforcements from my parents, the people that I, need to feel significant around, need to feel that need for significance, is tied into my need for love and approval. So look at your grades, Timmy. Great job. Right. So now my motivation is to get good grades so that I can get the attaboy. Instead of, I want to get good grades because I want to learn, I want to grow. And getting good grades means that I'm learning and I'm growing. I haven't learned to internalize it yet. And so I walk out into the world and I haven't internalized the fact that these things that I'm learning how to do are good for me. If I don't lie to people, if I don't rob people, if I don't drunk drive, if I pay my bills on time, if I do what I'm supposed to do and I don't get an attaboy, right? Am I going to stop paying my bills? Am I going to start robbing liquor stores just because somebody tells me, hey, it's a good thing you don't steal, right? So ultimately, it's recognizing that this everyone's opinion matters is tied to a need for approval, and that need for approval is based on my self-worth and validation. It doesn't feel as though this 78 days sober, it doesn't feel like it's enough unless my wife says, Ted, great job. 74 days. That's amazing. The minute she stops telling you you're doing a great job, then in your mind, it's like, well, what's the point? Ultimately, we need to remove ourselves from that childlike state of needing the approval and needing the accolades and recognizing that I'm doing these things because it makes me a better person, because there's no consequences associated with living a lifestyle alcohol free, that I feel more emotionally grounded, that I feel more connected to my wife. I feel more connected to my community. Like, this is why I'm doing it. I'm doing it because it feels good to me. It brings joy and appreciation and gratitude into my life. And that's why I'm doing it.
Excellent. Excellent. And Omar,
You got to go.
Yeah, I've got to go. As much as I'd like to be here, one of these days. But anyway,
Ted, I love to have you. You can 15 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever you got. Please show up.
you've got it.
All right, brother. Great to have you. We'll talk soon. Hey, Steph. All right, wonderful. So we just finished with Ted. So who do we have here? We've got Eric. We've got somebody named online. We've got Sheila and Travis and Steph. All right. Does anyone have any questions? Does anyone need any help? Where are we at?
I can relate to like the last 5 minutes of that conversation.
Bring it on.
You know, keep the motif going, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So like, I guess one of the things I've really been identifying is that like I don't do my routine for 3 days, and I do my routine, and I'm like, oh my goodness, this feels great to my body, right? And my routine is simple: move my body, feed it, and sleep well. Everything else is just like the recovery capital that we were talking about, right? I've been struggling with the basic needs of survival because I can't recognize and acknowledge that it's good for me to survive, right? And like, I have to take it a step further, because when I get stuck in that bondage of self and torturing and choosing to suffer, like choosing my suffrage, I'm also causing pain in other people's lives. And like, I never had that awareness as a drunken alcoholic or an addict. And so that really makes it much more challenging to go down that slope, because it's like, you know what, like I've got this bat in my hand, and usually I beat it across my skull, but now I'm just going to set down. I'm going to take 10, and I'm going to come back at it from a different angle, because it's like I've seen the light, and it's like I remember I watched your meeting with Jonathan, and you said that when you're a teenager, like finding alcohol is like rubbing the genie bottle, and then once you discover that truth, you know, you're like, oh, you can't tell me that anymore. It's almost like sobriety is the same effect. Like once I really worked recovery, and like I rubbed the genie's bottle of recovery, like going back to the old thing just doesn't work. And it's impressive, like how like you can rub the genie bottle once and be like, okay, that's cool with it, and live that life. But if you rub it again, you get the same effect, or you can. And I just think that's really cool. But like, nevertheless, I still struggle with connecting all of the dots that you sometimes, you know, because I let the inner critic get that megaphone. And it just really knocks me off of my basic survival instincts. And I get into I don't fight anymore. I freeze. That's my thing. I freeze. And it locks me up.
So what's your question?
What tools can I use to validate my basic survival needs?
Okay. Man, what an interesting question. And powerful. Can you expand just a little bit on your basic needs?
I mean, like simple hygiene, like brushing my teeth on a daily basis and feeding myself and getting good sleep hygiene patterns and practicing gratitude and just simple things that just like the solid foundations of life. Like if I didn't have them, I would die. Like food, water, shelter,
Yes.
basic human things. And like I just need those stapled to my forehead.
Okay. All right. So tools to validate my basic needs. So when you reference validate, what are you referring to more specifically?
I mean, to my self-worth, my self-love, right? Like I know this feels good for me. And it's like the same exact principle. Like I was talking with my sponsor today and he was like the opposite, like eating fast food. I know eating fast food is going to make me feel sluggish tomorrow, but I choose to do it knowing what the consequences are going to be, right? And it's like the same thing. Like I know that doing self-care is good for me, not to, you know? And so I want to know, like, change that misfire that's going on in my brain or put awareness on it.
Okay. So there's a few concepts here. One is the difference between instant gratification and delayed gratification. Okay. And, one of the first things that I learned in early recovery is that the things that provide me with instant gratification provide me with short-term results. And the things that provide me through the things I get through delayed gratification are much more sustainable results. They last longer. So if I don't eat the fast food and I go home and I make myself a salad and I drink water instead of a soda, okay, so these are my basic needs. I'm fulfilling my basic needs. One is instantaneous and is also filled with sugar and fat, has no nutritional value, and will make me feel sluggish, right? But in that moment will give me that sense of feeling really good. And then there's the other one that takes a while to make, takes time, okay, takes preparation, doesn't taste as good, doesn't inject me full of fat and sugar, and takes a while for I start to notice the benefits of it. I start to have more energy. My body needs less energy to process a salad or chicken or beans and rice, whatever the case may be. It takes less energy to process that, which allows me to have more energy to do other things, study, exercise, whatever the case may be, right? So first, it's just kind of recognizing that there's an internal battle that I have with myself. One of the same things that we were talking about with Ted, which is being an adult, right? And allowing the child inside to continue to run the show. The kid needs accolades. The kid needs an attaboy. The kid needs to feel validated for his efforts. And if I'm not getting somebody telling me, wow, you really going to eat that burger and those French fries and the soda? Wow. You sure you want to do that? That's not good for you. Now that might be the voice going on in your head, right? But you don't have physically somebody next to you doing that, nor do you have someone when you come home and you do the right thing and you prepare a nice meal like, wow, well done, Travis. Good for you. Wow, you're fulfilling your basic needs. You're doing a great job. Okay, these are all these things that I now have to adult myself. I have to step into a realm where I have to start appreciating and approving and validating myself. And there's that very distinct conversation, which is, okay, I know that I can instantly feel good. I can instantly fill my hunger immediately, right? And I know exactly how I'm going to feel afterwards. So I have a choice to make here, right? And maybe I need to, in the beginning, start creating a reward system for myself that will give me an added bonus or an added benefit. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with rewarding ourselves. Like, okay, so I'm going to spend 5 days, Monday through Friday. I am eating like right. I am going to get plenty of rest. I am going to get to bed at a certain time. I'm going to get up and have a morning routine. Here's what I'm going to do for 5 days. And then on the weekends, I'm going to do whatever I want. Okay. I'm going to indulge myself with this. I'm going to sleep in. I'm not going to exercise. So there's these ways that I can compromise with myself to fulfill my basic needs. And so what it boils down to really is, one, instant gratification versus delayed gratification, but also this idea of having that, also building in a reward system, but really it's that internal dialogue. Okay, really quieting down the inner critic and really bringing up that inner protagonist that's like, we really need to get some rest. We really need to get some, we were up till 2:00 in the morning yesterday. We really need to get some sleep, right? We really need to take better care of ourselves, right? And the only thing preventing me from taking better care of myself sometimes is this idea of, am I deserving of taking a nap? Am I deserving of getting more rest? Am I deserving of getting rest and taking time out for me? Because all this is you taking time out for you. If I don't brush my teeth, if I don't get a lot of sleep, if I don't eat healthy, everything for myself is fast. How quickly can I do a workout? Can I do a workout in 15 minutes? Okay. Can I eat this real fast? Because I got things to do. Shit's got to get done. Right. So I'm already in the future. I'm handling stuff. I've got to do stuff. It's probably all a bunch of convoluted bullshit. Right. But ultimately, I'm rushing everything in my life. I'm rushing my sleep. I'm rushing my eating. I'm rushing brushing my teeth. Right. I'm rushing everything that requires time for me, because somewhere in there, I don't feel like I've earned it yet. How is that landing for you?
I mean, it's pretty much hitting home. I mean, more or less. And the instant gratification versus delayed gratification is one of my biggest conundrums, right? Because I love growing vegetables. There's nothing like growing a tomato all year long. For like months. It takes like from seed to eat a tomato, it takes like 4 months. Like that's a long process. For one, you might even get one tomato, right? But it's worth it because it's the whole process of raising the plant from a seed all the way up to it. Like, and like I have to give that whole thing to myself. And it's interesting when the light is shined on giving a compromise for myself, because I think a lot about giving myself grace and kindness, but compromising, giving myself compromise is a really, it's a good insight for me to have, because a lot of the times I do have like the all or nothing thinking, or like I'll set a goal and I won't build up to that goal. I'll just rely on like the old patterns. Like, oh, I used to work out really hard, and so I can just pick that routine up right again. But I've been off for 2 weeks. Maybe I should just start with one day and just do a couple of push-ups and squats and see how that feels in your routine, instead of just going like, yeah, let's just add in 6 new things into my routine because you're feeling confident today. So yeah, like having that awareness to compromise and understand that I'm human, and that asking myself ultimately, do I want to do this to be a better human, and really pushing myself to be honest with myself more so. I mean, I'm honest with other people, but I'm not. I find it easier to be honest with others than it is myself sometimes, And I think that's just the inner critic that I listen to, and something I got to work on.
When I say the word consistent, okay, what meaning do you derive from the word consistent? What does that mean to you?
I like frequent, regular, similar, close enough, ballpark. Like a scatter plot, like on a chart. You see like a bunch of red dots, and it's roughly in like the same area along the course of life. all random. It's pretty much in the same point, but it's not a straight line, you know?
Perfect. Okay. So when some people hear the word consistent, they think perfection. They think every day. Okay. So consistent is not about militant every day at the same time or for X amount of time. So if I work out 5 days a week, 2 hours a day, I'm being consistent. Okay. If I only work out 3 days and only work out an hour, then I'm being inconsistent. So that is a belief system that derails people. Instead of consistent means I have a regular routine of something. I go to a recovery meeting once a week. There's plenty of people that go to a recovery meeting once a week, right? And they're able to maintain the recovery. They work out 3 times a week. They meditate 5 times a week for 10 to 15 minutes. Okay. They journal throughout the week a few times. They've created a routine and they consistently are able to maintain their commitment to themselves, okay, within a margin of error. And not even error, flexibility, right? So if I go to the gym and for whatever reason, I only do the treadmill, right? And I just get to a point where I'm like, I don't really feel like doing weights, right? I will leave today, right? I will go and I will get on the treadmill. And then at some point, sometimes I spend more time on the treadmill than I normally do, right? And so then I'm like, God, do I really feel like going and lifting weights? Nah, I'm going to go home, right? And it dissipates as soon as I get in the car, it's gone. It's not, man, I should have lifted weights and, I'm fucking cheating and you know what? Fuck it. I'm just not coming back. All right. So there is a need for flexibility. And you mentioned it, grace and kindness. So you already have that incorporated into your program. As long as there's grace and there's kindness, all we need to do is add some compromise in there. And let's not forget rewarding. Okay, this is also super important. We forget to reward ourselves. Okay, like, Steph, you're in school, right? How many years? Give me fingers. How many years? 2 years, right? So here's what happens, right? We get into school and we're studying, and my focus is I have to study, I have to get good grades, right? I'm working on my degree, and then I have my thesis and this. And so everything becomes about school work. And there's no points where it's like, wow, I did well on this test. I'm going to reward myself. Go shopping. Go out with friends for a meal. Go do something for me that reinforces why I'm doing this. There's a reason why I do everything. And if it's not because I enjoy it, if it doesn't bring me joy, then at some point it's going to become a frustration. And we all know what happens when we get frustrated.
I have a short fuse when I get frustrated.
Mm-hmm. A whole lot of things start to happen when we get frustrated. Okay. And ultimately, I may do something that would require me to soothe myself because I'm not being gentle and kind with myself. I'm not rewarding myself. I'm not acknowledging my success. I'm not acknowledging my achievements. It's like I get there, I get the good grade. What's next? Okay, I got the good grade. Now I have to study for this exam. Now I have to do this. Now I have to do that. And before I know it, it's like, why am I even doing this? Nobody cares. Oh, striking nerve with Stephanie. So ultimately, if we take a few takeaways from this, number one is the ability to compromise with ourselves. And then number two is the ability to reward ourselves. Because what happens is, as we come into recovery, we start to embrace the idea of delayed gratification. And you see, the reward for instant gratification is instant gratification. That is the reward. The reward for delayed gratification does not get fulfilled. I don't reward myself for eating healthy or exercising regularly or accomplishing something, right? So I have to always remember that instant gratification, that is a reward. Delayed gratification requires a reward. Okay, so that was a lot, Travis. Feedback?
I mean, yeah, it makes perfect sense. I mean, like there have been so many times in my life where I've been in the grind, right? And not even giving myself the things, and then got all the way to the end and like, oh, fuck it, whatever it's worth, you know? But on the outside looking in, like while I'm practicing, like I'm gaining skills, and someone who's never practiced my skills is like, wow, you're talented. That's something, you know, like, and I know I'm not giving myself the credit for all my hard work, and I do that a lot. And it makes sense that because I haven't rewarded myself, because I've identified reward as instant gratification, and so like, I do work, and I think I'm playing, but my only play is in instant gratification, right? So how is that a conundrum? But it's interesting because I had a thought come into my head today, and I was like, I wonder how much it would be to include like a massage once or twice a month into my monthly budget, you know, just for myself. Just go get my stress rubbed out, and all my, like, I do a lot of yoga and working out. That's something to, like, how much would that be? Is that affordable? That's a great self-care reward, you know, or whatever it might be. So it's something that I would be willing to include in my budget, and I think that's a great way to relax and detach. And so yeah, it's another good insight to compromise and reward myself, you know, in other ways besides instant gratification, right?
The beautiful thing about that is that you stop focusing on the work that you're doing and you start focusing on the reward.
Right.
So no matter what you go through to get what you have to get done, whether it's yoga or school or workout or eating right, your focus is on the reward. And what happens too is the more my emotional state moves into the positive direction, okay, the more I look for ways to reward myself, and I recognize that there's a dollar amount associated with rewarding myself, you will be surprised at how you become, you develop the ability to manifest that money. When I have a purpose for money, okay, when it's in my mind, okay, this is what I'm going to do for myself. Okay, oh, can I afford it? How much is it going to be? Can I fit it into the budget? You'll be surprised, as once you put it into the budget, you recognize, wow, surprisingly enough, I do have the money. What else can I add into my budget? And what happens is the money expands, opportunities expand. And before I know it, I've got a bit of a cushion here, right? All based on, you know, my ability to effectively reward myself. I stop focusing on everything else. This is why milestones in recovery are so important. Big relapses happen after 90 days. Okay, I'm getting who's less than 90 days? How many days you got? Right? After 90 days, it's like nobody cares. Right? And I stop getting chips, and I got to wait 3 months, to get an accolade. Right? And even in there, we recognize how important it is to get that validation and that reward. Right? It means something. I mean, I don't know if you've ever showed up to a meeting and somebody showed up for their 60 days and they didn't have a 60-day chip. That's like the whole person, their whole face is like, they were like, dopamine just sucked right out of them. Okay. So we have to, we are very simple creatures. And once we recognize the importance of recognizing our own achievements, just like what we were talking about with Ted. Okay. What you do, the work that you do is to constantly remind yourself, of what your purpose is. Okay. What this is doing to your life. Every time you don't drink, every time you pay your bills, every time you show up on time, every time you wake up without a hangover, that's the reward. Okay. That feeling of accomplishment, of accountability, of responsibility, right? And so at first, those are the things that reward us. But after a while, I need to add to that, right? Okay, so great. Now this has become my lifestyle, right? So how else can I enhance this? How can I enhance? Because we can always be bigger, better, stronger. There's nothing wrong with that. Better, bigger, stronger, faster, whatever the case may be, as long as it's not tied to my sense of self-worth. I have to divorce myself from the outcome. I have to divorce myself from this idea that it is tied into my self-worth. If I don't get stronger, then I failed. Okay. If I don't do this, it means I failed. Instead of, wow, I went to the gym 200 out of 365 days this year. God damn it. If my weight has not changed and my sense of value is not based on the weight that I lost or the muscle that I gained, but it's based on my ability to consistently show up and do the work. And I base it purely on my commitment to myself and my consistency. I cannot fail ever. I will never fail. All right. We got 4 minutes. Does anyone else, Sheila or Stephanie, anybody want to chime in?
I will. I always want to say I'm Sheila. I'm an alcoholic, but I don't have to do that here.
You can do it just if you'd like to, you can.
I'm Sheila, and I'm a grateful alcoholic. And
Sheila.
I'm happy to be back. I stepped away from the SRC for a short while, and I got into the Women's International Marathon meetings, and it's 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. And I thought that would be great. And I found a group of women that I like. I mean, there's hundreds and hundreds of people that come, but I'm zoned in on a few that I got, and I'll still continue to talk to. But I'm going to shift over here because my sponsor, and Omar already knows this, but my sponsor says, you know what, we're losing our connection because you're not doing the Sunday night. We're only talking one night a week, and you're going to the big book study, but we don't really connect. And I thought, oh my God, she's going to let me go. And I was in tears because, that's what we do. I mean, that's what I do. It's like, oh shit, it's either going to be really good or it's not going to be very good. So when she said that, I thought, well, that makes a lot of sense. And I'm glad she brought that up. And I just sent her that I, successfully got back into SRC. And I said, just wanted you to know. And she's like, yeah. So it's important for me to recognize that what she had to say, to take it with an open mind and realize that she loves me and that what she wants for me is to get back in connection with the people who know and love me. And I've met some really great women and men in the SRC, and they're not afraid to call me out of my stuff, and with all rights they should, because they know me. And I don't know. I think I left because I wasn't doing the Sunday night meeting anymore. But there's other meetings I could have gone to, and I just, I thought it's not really worth the $12 a week or a month for me to get in there. That someone might say something that absolutely changes the course of my life. $12, you can't put a price on something like that. So I mean, we pay we put $1 in the basket, why not pay $12 a month? So it's not really about the money. It's just that I thought that my will for me was to go on to doing the other meetings, and it's fine. And Omar told me earlier, I can still go there, 1 or 2 times I've been going like 8 hours a day, and because I don't work, and that's what I do. So what I'll do probably is go to like 1 hour a day. That's it. And not wear myself out and do other things that are productive, because I can't stress enough how important it is for me to finally have gotten what she was saying, that, you got to be around people that know you, honey, because they can call you out.
It is easy to get lost in the crowd. The bigger the group, the easier it is for me to hide.
Yeah.
Right. And it's so, that ability to stay accountable, that ability to, and not only that, connection is so important. I can be in a whole group of people and feel completely disconnected. Right. And, on the other side, being in a group and feel completely immersed. I mean, there's 6 of us on this call, 4 of us that, can see each other, and we're completely connected right here.
Mhm.
Right. So it does make a tremendous difference. So, and plus you take that recovery, right, and you start taking some of those hours that we're, now that you have that strong foundation, and it's time to get a hobby, take a
Yeah.
course,
Yeah.
check out new things, right? It's time to evolve and grow and listen to audiobooks and listen to podcasts and expand.
Yeah. And one thing I'm going to do, I'm going to start working out. I can't work out a whole lot because I've broken my foot again, but we're not going to talk about that right now. But I'm going to start trying to work out, even if it's just 10 minutes a day, just something, just go to the gym, take the effort. And I've got to take my continuing education courses for my social work stuff. So, those are some things that it's not due till next August, but no one said that you can't get it all done a year in advance. It's okay to just have that. So I've got a few things that I want to do. And like you're saying, the connection is, I learned that the opposite of addiction is connecting. And that took a while for that to make sense. But if I'm connecting to y'all, that's going to help combat my addiction. And that's an incredible thing to think about. So, I mean, I like that I have a lot of different places to go for my recovery, and I'm going to start going to the in-person meetings again too.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I sent you an invite. All right. Just accept and jump back in.
Where did you send it to? Email?
No, Facebook, you'll see at the top where it's, where it gives you the notifications. It should say, Omar invited you. Steph, what do you got?
Got it. Thank you.
I can totally relate to everything. I've kind of been going through my cycle. I've been limbic system oriented more than ever. And I battle with bulimia a lot. And when my life stressors go like this, my relationship with food goes like this.
Mm-hmm.
And I start binging and purging, and then I do things out of spite for myself. And I look for numbers to validate me feeling better about what I'm eating. I'm not eating. And then I go straight shot up the system, up the ladder into my own chaos, and fundamentally, like Travis, not taking care of myself, not connecting. And so in order to connect with this particular disorder I have, my therapist is looking for somewhere in Charlotte for me to like go to a specific recovery group for this, because I don't have a lot of support in it. And it's really hard to relate to somebody who does that. And you can't.
Beautiful. Okay. So you got a lot going on there, Steph. Right. So thank goodness you joined on this call, because we're talking specifically about each and every one of those facets. Right. And so I'm basing all of my my emotions and my belief systems on an outcome. Right. So if I don't lose this much weight, if I don't reach this metric, if I don't get these grades, it's not good enough, which means I'm not good enough. Right. So consciously or subconsciously, that's what keeps showing up. And so as long as there is no endpoint, then at some point I will give up. Right? And I will instant gratification. I'm seeking something that will soothe me and also an opportunity to escape from my life. I am not happy with the results. What I'm not looking at is all the time and effort that you've already put into your recovery and your well-being and your education. It all gets discounted. All of it. And that's not fair. Okay, there's a little Stephanie in there, and she needs to know that she's valuable and that she's doing a good job. You know, it's like, wow, you know, we have stuck to our guns. We've been going to school, right? We're still showing up to meetings, right? Even if we're uncomfortable, we keep showing up and we keep doing it, and we're not getting the results that we want. But maybe we're looking at this thing in a way that is unhealthy. Maybe I'm just focusing too much on the results and I'm not focusing on a lifestyle. I'm not focusing on everything that I've accomplished. And I have to, this is why the rewards are so important, because it forces me to recognize my metrics. It forces me to say, how many meetings did I go to? How many times did I go to the gym? How many times did I choose the right thing to eat? Right? If I start keeping track of that versus, oh my God, I totally went off and I ate whatever I wanted and I only went to one meeting and I didn't show up for class and I got a C on my, I only have two things that I can focus on: positive and negative. Negative emotions have a much higher vibration and much higher energy than positive ones. So if I get caught in a negative spiral, it's a lot more difficult to go into a positive spiral, because it's much easier to get out of a positive spiral than it is to get out of a negative spiral. We all, is there anyone here that did not understand what I just said here? It is so much easier to derail. I'm feeling great. I'm doing the right thing. You know, oh, look at the scale. Fuck it. It's fucking bullshit. What's the point? Oh, and I got a C in my class and, right. And all of a sudden this thing becomes this monster ball, and I was doing so well. This positive feedback loop, right, immediately gets derailed. And I go into this giant rabbit hole of negativity. I have to be able to catch myself. I have to be able to catch myself and go, whoa, 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 whoa. Easy does it. Wow. Okay. Wow. I know we're upset. Easy does it. Okay. What do we got to do to get back on track? Oh, nothing. Just make a decision. Oh, okay. Now, okay. All right. Hey, let's take a moment and think about what went right. What went right this week? Right. I have to force myself. It is a practice. Okay. To build that inner protagonist. Okay. Instead of, fueling that inner antagonist. Right. Okay. Great meeting, guys. So good to see all of you, my people. All right. So we will see you all next Wednesday, hopefully, same time. Love you all.